Yes,
Fantastic.
sir.
Okay. So I was saying, I need to say big
Yeah.
congratulations to your team. You've done greatly, and I can't overemphasize that. I'm passionate about what you're doing, and I can talk about this forever as well. And I have to also thank the previous speakers, Dr. Madu, Mr. Okolawan. Is always a fantastic moment listening to this one. And in classic, we say, can this man be more um, Roman than Caesar? I found that true today. We found Dr. Faz as well as Professor Jacob uh, passionate about Africa. They talk so much about it and they want this to happen to Africa. You see, the world needs Africa and Africa also needs the world. And that is what we are seeing today. And to those mentees, what I would say is you are living in history today. You are going to be part of history. This is going to snowball into a very big thing. And when it does, you remember that you are here and we told you that you are living in history. You see, the world is at a point where Africa is the bride. Mr. Okalawan was talking about that when he was giving out statistics. I wanted to shun out statistics, but I'm going to minimize mine, looking at what has been said by previous speakers. You see, the the World Economic Forum for Africa was held, and four main points were mentioned in that forum. One of them was the robots are coming, and millions of people will be laid off. The second was automation will create more jobs than it destroys. And the third says the fourth industrial revolution will accelerate inequality. And the fourth point will be new technology will enable Africa to catch up with the rest of the world. You see, when you look at those points, and for me, I saw it as something that brought back reflection back into my days in school. And the professor came into class one day. I studied computer science, and he wrote on the board. He said, um, "When computers take over what we do, what will happen to our brain?" And he left. He said, "We should work on that." It wasn't a time when people think the way we think. It wasn't a time of any generation of internet. We are now at the mark of the fifth generation, but it was a time when we do things batch processing, if you know what I'm talking about. But the thinking then was the ubiquity of computer is and the mindlessness of of it would bring about a situation where it would at a point in time surpass human uh, knowledge and human intelligence. And you can imagine, we are talking about 30 years from that time now. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about blockchain technology. We are talking about many things that shows that without computers, we cannot live the way a modern world should operate again. So what does that bring to Africa? How does that concern Africa and ourselves today? You see, Africa is a bride, like I said. The World Economic Forum said between 15 million to 20 million young people would join the African workforce every year. So you can imagine that Femi and his team are very, very noble and they're not also arrogant when they said in 5 years they want to do a small bit of that. They want to train 5 million people to be competent. But what the argument has always been is the disconnect between the public sector and the university. The public sectors, meaning the industries, the companies, where the innovation actually takes place. There's a disconnect. You could imagine a lot of CEOs were asked questions, and they were supposed to talk about, are they satisfied with the kind of competence, with the kind of skill set that comes along to apply for jobs, the skill set necessary to cause disruption and innovation. And do you know that 87% of the global CEO said they were really concerned? And 86% said they were concerned in Africa as well. That, look, we don't have the right skill set to be able to jump into destructive innovation, to be very competitive. And because they said this, it gives people like Femi and his team a reason to think that, look, we need to upskill people. We need to get these people ready for the global CEO to be able to take control. And that is the reason for this kind of program that you mentees have gone through. It's trying to upskill you, it's trying to get you to be competitive, to be able to compete with the best in the world, and to be able to be unveiled as the most important and the most competitive bride for the world labor force. So, in view of that, what are we supposed to do as a people? Like I said, I can't overemphasize the bits Femi is doing. We don't want to go down the lane of trying to blame anybody again. It means if Femi could say, look, I want to train 5 million people, I want to upskill their skill set. Professor Jacob was talking about uh, them coming back to us to ask questions if they feel they needed, maybe 12 a.m. in the night. Somebody is trying to write some documents and wanted them to sign, and they want to check the prospect. I know Dr. Madu was also talking about these are not even backed by the law of the country. And that has always been Dr. Madu's position. I've had a lot and lot of significant relationship with him, and we talk about these things as well. So, what would African do to get to where we want to do? We want them to be. What should we be looking at? You see, I would suggest the Brazilian example. You see, Brazil, they have a lot in common with maybe Nigeria. A huge population, uh, very young people as well. And at the point in Brazil, prior to 2019, there are a lot of unemployed Brazilians, but they took it as a challenge, and the government, along with the corporate sector, they put things in place for Brazilians to be different. One of what they did was what they called the TVET. TVET stands for the Technical and Vocational Education Training. Technical and Vocational Education Training. What it is, they go to the industries. They ask, what type of person do you want? In the next 10 years, what what are the skill sets you want to work in your company? And maybe the company will say, look, in the next 10 years, I will need about four data scientists. I want two developers. I will need a customer service person. And imagine a company, a country collating their future human resources need and giving that back to the university and say, this should be what we want you to produce. You see, because of that, in Brazil, if you leave the university within 6 months, you get a job because they are able to break off from the disconnect that we find in our own state today, whereby the university is teaching X, but the private sector are looking for Y. And because of that, you find the private sector not finding the right skill set among the 15 million graduates that African countries are producing every year. So the need for this. So basically, the Brazilians, what they also did what they call the world skills competition. You know, what it means is they bring people together so that they could demonstrate individual skills as well as collective skills. Many people will be asked in interviews, how do you work? And some people say, I love working alone. But people are also talking about being collaborative, being able to work with other people as well is important. Do you know that displaying such skills at world level, at a competitive level, is what the Brazilians are also doing? And they did that. And do you know who were there as delegates from Africa? We have the Malians, we have the Rwandans, the Mozambicans, the Cameroonians, and of course, the Nigerians. They were they participated, they show interest in it, they try to learn what the TVT means, how it's going to be helpful to their country, to their continent as well. And basically, you could imagine it is important because the Western African, West Sub-Saharan African GDP has jumped up from the 1990s from the 2% to about 5.5%. It has kept that level for quite some time now. So it's important for Africa to learn from Brazil, to learn from BRICS, the BRICS nation, the Brazilian, the Russian, the Indians, the what else is BRIC, and the South Africa as well, and China. So these are things we find we sent delegates to. But who are the delegates here? Where are they now? I don't think Femi was part of them. What did they write down? How has that impacted on what we are doing today? What has it brought to the table? So those are the questions we should ask. So basically, what other thing they brought from Brazil was private sector management of the training levy. I remember I started working many years ago. If I say it, ego would think I'm very old man. We used to contribute to ITF, Industrial Training Fund, and it was 4 naira. I don't know how much it is now. I don't know. I wasn't trained by Industrial Training Fund at any level, but the fund has become so much now. The ITF fund, the 4 naira we used to contribute. Every human being working in any sector of Nigerian economy was contributing to that fund, and that fund has become a mammoth. I think they have their headquarters around Ojota in Lagos, and but who knows what they do? I don't know. I haven't seen somebody that says I've been trained, because the problem was Industrial Training Fund of Nigeria, that was different from the Brazilian model, was run by the government. It still has the bureaucratic affiliation of the government. The government manage it. The fund is there. People don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to pay for research and all that. But you know, in Brazil, their fund, that private sector management fund, is managed by the private sector. Yes, the private people themselves. And because it's managed by the private sector, they are able to connect to the need of the society. They are able to train the people who needed the training. They are able to put a training for the trainers. And that brings about the needed upskilling they need in Brazil. If you say Brazilians, they come to Europe as well to work, and most of them most of their certifications are accepted uh, without questioning in Europe. I think was the speaker before Dr. Fahad that was saying um, basically we have the skills, we know the language, but people don't still trust us. But why are they trusting the people from Brazil? Why would an European person trust people that come from Philippines? Why are their certifications seen as important? Because they follow the blueprint, the World Economic Blueprint that was handed over to all the countries in the world. That also to think about the relevance of skill training for the labor market. I've said that before. What is the relevance of our institutions? What certificate they are teaching? What syllabus are they teaching? Are those syllabus, the syllabi, are they current to what the world needs? I read in the news today, and Elon Musk is bringing SpaceX, the internet, is bringing it to Nigeria. It could hit us next year, which means there's a planning. They want people to key into that. They want people to have the internet. You could imagine our friend is living in a rural area in Nigeria. He wants to do a fine presentation. We were listening, we were enjoying it, but we cannot hear him. And then Elon Musk saw that as an opportunity. Why don't I put my internet into Nigeria? It's going to be a surface to ground to surface internet because it's powered by the from the sky. And we have different nodes around the country. And when that comes, it's going to give the poor services we are getting today, it's going to give them a run for their money. So when that comes, how would somebody, a mentee who is joining the program today, how would they key into that? What are you looking at? What are you thinking about the future of the internet? Today in Europe and America, we are talking about the fifth generation 5G network. And that 5G network will power what will make possible what the 4G, the 3G was not able to achieve. Is the 5G that will make possible the blockchain. It is the 5G that will make possible the artificial reality, augmented reality. And when these come together, then we'll come to the stage of losing some jobs, but some people will also be filling in some jobs. But do we have to be afraid of losing jobs? Computers are mindless. They don't have empathy. And that is the beauty of human. We show empathy, we show concern, we put people in our own shoes. We try to see things from the other people's direct position. And that is difficult to program. I'm a programmer. I can't imagine programming empathy. And if that happens, a lot of people will key themselves into uh, those opportunity that needs human skills as well. While a lot more people who are in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and maths kind of education will also take advantage of the benefit of this new science that is coming to us. So basically, I don't want to take so much time. We have quite an opportunity in Africa. I think was Dr. Jacob that said we are competing with Europe, we are competing with America, we are competing with India, we have the Chinese we are competing with, but we have to present ourselves as a beautiful bride ready to be married off to the best bidders. We want to show when the World Economic Forum comes back to interview CEOs around the world. We want them to be able to say, yes, I'm confident I could get the skill set I need in Africa. I could get it in Nigeria because they have the infrastructure, they have the skill sets to be able to support my business. Europe is looking for cheap labor, and our exchange rates, our economic growth, and many indices is saying they will be happy to take us. We are English speaking, we are intelligent, we are naturally resilient. And because of that, the people just want people from Nigeria because you don't usually call in sick because your cat died. We don't. We won't call in sick because our child is going to school for the first day. We don't. We, we, we are just natural. We do that naturally. And these employers, they are aware of it and they want to take advantage of it. But we can have those beautiful, resilient quality without having the technological viability that, look, I'm competent as well, technically, to back it up. So that is what we are saying. To the mentees, you have a great opportunity in this journey. And remember, I said to you, you are part of history. You are living in history of something big that's happening. Thank you very much for inviting me. I don't want to take too much time now.
Wow, thank
And,
you so much for